Hi, I'm Susan Roberti, and welcome to Let's Talk Tail Waggers. I'm visiting today, and it's going to be a fun show. This young lady is a nice person to talk to and is very knowledgeable about animals and life, and this is going to be a wonderful, wonderful show. So now we're going to start talking to Amy. Hi, Amy.
Hello, my dear. You like the quarantine hair? I cut it myself. There's no salons open, so I was forced to cut it myself. Speaking of hair, my little baby over here, Princess. Come here, Princess. She has not been to the groomer in quite some time, since pre-quarantine days, and her fur is very, very long. I did call various groomers. They've not been open during the pandemic. I called to see if I could drop off at people's houses for them to do it, and they've politely declined. They're waiting for the studios to open. I believe the studios are opening second to third week in May, so this little baby girl will be able to get her fur trimmed shortly. But yeah, it's pretty long, Susie, because the salons are not open.
Now, when you got her, she was just a little ball of fur, Princess. Did you have 3 dogs always, or did she start the...
It began with Buddy here. Now, Buddy's 8 years old, and we had recently lost our large dog. It was my son's dog, and it was devastating to him. And we needed to get a replacement for the emotions and the feelings that we had at that point of time. The sadness was just too great. There was an emptiness in our life, as only a pet can fill. And we went out and we got a baby Buddy. He was really small. Funny story about Buddy. We went to the shelter to actually get, a 2 to 4 year old animal. And when we got there, none of the animals seemed to respond with my children. They were kind of, they didn't mind my kids, and I wanted something that really, took to my children and would love them and grow up with them. And we had no intentions at all of getting a puppy. Puppies are a lot of work. They're a lot of work. You have to work with them. You have to train them, so on and so forth. So when we went there, we had no intentions of coming home with a puppy. So when we had interviewed one-on-one the various dogs that they had there, none of the dogs were an exact fit with our children and with our family. And the lady said, we just got a batch of puppies that have just become available today. Again, this was not on our radar. So Buddy was one of 8 puppies that were born, and it was during Christmas time. So he was named Donner after the 8 reindeer. So he was one of the 8 reindeer named Donner. And because of our favorite movie, Buddy the Elf, we named Buddy Buddy. And Buddy was the first to come to our home.
It is really wonderful how people take names and place it upon their kitty cat, a bird, a turtle, or a dog. It never ceases to amaze me. When they come to you, you have a name. You don't know it, right away, but it was just like what you said. It was Christmas time and the reindeer. Now, how in the world could you think something up like that? It's just the Lord, and He's having fun. So, He's using you.
So I guess the funny thing about this, Susan, is although we named him after Buddy the Elf, he truly has become my son's best buddy. And they've grown up together. Again, he's 8 years old, so my son is going to be 16 16 this summer. And so he was 8 when we first got him. So he's grown up with my son, playing ball, chasing, toys, just having a great time.
I've been doing this for 23, 24 years, and it's always the same. People will tell me, that their dog picked them. And we had a little dog when we bought our first house, and my son was just 9 months old, sitting up, And we called my dad. He came over, and we said, we're going to go get my first dog for the house. So could you watch the baby? Oh, sure. So we went out. We had already called the people to get the puppy. It was just a little mixed breed. So and fat. Oh, I could just see him. So we brought him home, opened the front door up, and it was Halloween night. And my father just believed that children should have ice cream and candy. That was just the way it was. My son had chocolate from one end to the other. And we opened the door up, and we had a fire going in the fireplace, and there's Pap sitting in a chair. And we put the puppy down, and he just went running over and started licking Gino, and the baby fell backwards. Boom, laughing. It was a treasure. I will never, ever forget it. And we said, what are we going to name him? And the only thing my son said was, Mommy, Daddy, Jeep. Everything was a Jeep, from that Popeye, Jeep dog. And I said, what are we going to name the puppy? And he looked up and said, Jeep. And that was his name, was Jeep. It's amazing. It's amazing to me. It will never, ever, ever stop warming my heart. Look at this. Oh, you're just jealous. Now, tell me about this baby.
Well, I wanted to follow up with the name thing and about how animals choose the humans. The dog that we had previously lost was a female, so we went in with full intentions on getting a female dog to replace. And I'm telling you, my kids held 4 of these little girls, 4 of these reindeer dogs, and none of them responded to my children. They held this dog once, and he looked up with his big puppy dog brown eyes, and we just knew there was a connection there. There was a connection, and that's how we ended up with Buddy the boy. So my daughter wanted to swing by a shelter just to visit with the animals. Well, that's trouble right there. You can't just visit. And so there was so there was an abused animal. It was all curled up in a ball. And we went over and we looked at it, and they says, well, you can't touch it, you can't hold it, you can't pet it, you can't interact with it, but you can offer to adopt it. Well, my daughter was young at the time, and my daughter looked up at me and she goes, oh, please, Mommy, please, can we adopt this puppy? Never in a million years did I plan on getting a third dog. Never in a million years. And I said, sure, we'll put in for the adoption. Though I think it was $100 fee, which went to the shelter. So it was like I was making a donation to the shelter. It didn't matter. And what they do is they research your background and your credit report, and they come and they visit your home to check on the yard and this, that, and everything. And among all the people, and I know there was 20-some people that had applied for this little dog, they chose our family to adopt it. Now, being that he's small and brown and Buddy's large and brown, we named him Junior because we thought that he would be Junior. Well, Junior is part Doberman and part Mini Pinscher. And he is very, we'll say mischievous. Wily is another good word. He just has a lot of energy. We'll just suffice it to say that. And so when we would get upset with him, like you would have to call out his name more than just Junior. So we would start calling him Junior Mint, and Junior Mint just stuck. So he's our Junior Mint.
There you go. They just do that. They get into your life and into your heart. And that's a beautiful story about that guy, because I firmly believe that a young man, a little boy and turning in and growing, should have a dog, because they need somebody to tell their secrets to. And I believe that with all my heart.
So Junior will always be Buddy's Junior. And then we have Princess. Now, Princess was the second to arrive. And so Buddy is my son Zachary's dog, and Princess is my daughter Aaliyah's dog. And I want to say Aaliyah was 8 at the time when we got Princess as well. And because Buddy took so strongly to my son, my daughter wanted her own puppy dog, except she wanted something that she could brush and fluff and dress up and put bows on and wear clothes and so on and so forth. And she already had the name picked out. It had to be Princess. So when we went to choose an animal, Princess just spoke to her, just really just cuddled with her and looked into her little eyes and gave her like tiny little tongue kisses. And Princess has been my daughter's dog since she was also 8.
Now, that gives your daughter somebody to come home to, that it makes her feel special when she comes home from school. They're just amazing. I just wished all my shows that I've done for so many years get to people that do not understand that these are God's little angels, and I really believe that with all my heart.
Now, Junior Mint is the most jealous of them all, and the most playful of them all, and the most goofball of them all. Buddy's more serene and laid back. We call him a piece of furniture because sometimes you don't even know that he's there. Princess will interact with Junior and will play with him, you know, if he comes to her. But she's pretty laid back as well. She's a good girl. Now, she has not been groomed since this whole quarantine thing went on, so I took the small scissors just around the top of her head so it wasn't hanging in her eyes. And when my family saw her, they got very upset with me, and they said that I did a terrible job, but it had to be done. It had to be done. So just a little face a little bit, and hopefully we'll get the rest of her body cleaned up and you know, ship shape in no time. Now, when we take her to the groomers, being she is a princess, we get her nails colored. So that's on the horizon very, very soon. And the big dogs need their nails trimmed too, because that's a service that we can't hold them down and do it. You need a professional to do that. Now, you were talking about dogs during this whole pandemic and the quarantine and staying in and people spending time with them. I'll tell you what, I know for a fact that these animals have been my godsend during this whole thing. I think there's time of reflection that everyone has done where you get to know yourself. You reflect back upon your life, your achievements, what you could have done, what you should have done, what you still can do. And some of it is gut-wrenching and saddening, and you think, like, what is tomorrow going to bring? Like, how are people going to behave? Can we be kind to one another? You know, all this going on in the world. And I know that holding these dogs and petting these dogs has really brought me salvation and a sense of calm amongst all this craziness going on in the world.
You know, and I think this is, like you're saying, this is time for everybody to get together in the home, put the phones away, sit down, watch TV together, play board games, do things together, you know, and mainly tell each other, I love you. And the dogs just, you wake up in the morning and they love you. They love you in the afternoon. They love you in the evening. And there are blessings. You guys have more fun with these little kids, huh?
They are truly our little joys. Each one in their own unique personality, each one in their own unique way. They really, really bring a lot of joy to our lives. You spoke a lot when you said people need to put down their phones. I would go beyond that and say electronic devices. Put down your electronic devices. Spend time with your kids. Spend time with your parents. Spend time with your family. This is time that we cannot get back. This is almost an opportunity. This is a gift that's being given to us. It's up to us to take advantage of it. I know a lot of people are cleaning the house and so on and so forth, and that's wonderful and that's all good, well, and fine, but are you spending time with your loved ones? Quality one-on-one time, talking to them about their feelings, their emotions, what it is that they feel that they're going through on this pandemic, what it is that they feel that tomorrow's going to bring. They have a lot of emotions, a lot of, fear, apprehension, anxiety, just like most people do during these trying times. Talk to them about it. Work through it together as a family unit. Work together, one-on-one, and sort it out. And that way it's one less thing that you have to worry about. Talk to your animal about it. Talk to your dog or your cat, because guess what? They're always listening. They're your own little best friends.
And people just have to really realize that animals do know if you care.
Well, sparing you all the terrible details of how little Junior Mint was abused when we got him, I will just suffice it to say that when we got him, he was joyful and he was eager to love. However, he was very territorial with food because they withheld food from him. Yes, and if you try to roughhouse with him or play with him on the ground or whatnot, he would get an aggressive meanness to him. And I will say this, I told my children, because they each had their own dogs to love at the time, I says, I'm going to work with this dog. No one is to touch this dog. I'm going to love this dog like none other. And for 2 to 3 months, I did nothing but hug him, cuddle him, snuggle with him, love him, give him kisses, sleep with him, all cuddled up under the blankets at night, and he really became a mama's boy. But I'll tell you what a 180. And I shudder to think what would have happened to this poor animal had he not been adopted by someone as patient or kind, as loving, It did, he would have probably gone from home to home and been misunderstood. I like to say he was misunderstood. He was reacting to the environment that he was provided in, being that he was abused and tortured and not fed or cared for. And now this little animal is so full of joy in his heart and so much full of love. Like I said, he is mischievous, but I'll tell you what, I would not have him any other way. He loves like none other. He loves 110%. Let's go back to my story about Junior Mint when my daughter and I went to the shelter to look at and pet the animals. I told you that he was in a cage and they wouldn't let us touch him or interact with him or play with him because he was so aggressive. Now, I'll tell you what, if he had been aggressive towards myself or my daughter, I most certainly wouldn't have put that adoption paper in. And that's why I like to say there are no bad animals. There are just misunderstood animals, because he's the greatest animal that I've ever had, my little squishy-faced doll baby. I just love him to death. And if anybody has patience in their heart, if anybody has a sense of understanding, a willingness to love, and that's like an unconditional love, the kind of love that an animal can give back to you, try fostering or adopting an animal, because I tell you what, there's no greater gift than the love from an animal back to you. The little wag of their tail, the little glimmer in their eyes. If you look real hard, you can even see a little smile across their little faces. Now, when you talk about animals being put out or animals being put back up for adoption, that goes beyond the dogs and the cats, the puppies and the kitties, guinea pigs, bunnies, reptiles. They'll take anything into the shelter. They will literally find a home for anything. You just click on the box that says other, and you can adopt an other, a bunny or a gecko or, a lizard or something like that. Don't ever turn your animals or your living creatures loose to fend for themselves. That's careless ownership of a pet. Find a home for that animal. And you could do that through a shelter, or some pet shops even do it, so on and so forth. There are options out there for you. And if you want to make a donation of the blankets or the favorite toys to go with that animal, just to make them feel a little more comfortable during their transition to their next home, that also would be a blessing.
Yeah. And let's pray that the next home they go to is as nice as the home. This is a true experiment. I believe this with all my heart. This is a true experiment, and I think people that... And another thing, too, while I'm sitting here thinking of, people are starting to get German Shepherds. German Shepherds are coming back. German Shepherds are the sweetest, kindest, most wonderful dog in the world, but they're big. and they're cute when they're little. So please think about cleaning the yard. That's the big one. You know, I had a German Shepherd years and years ago, and that was the pain in the butt. You know, was cleaning. So then I started going back down, you know, to little guys like this. But if you're going to get a puppy, make sure you read about them. A German Shepherd is one of the most intelligent dogs of them all. Border Collies are the most intelligent. And German Shepherds, will learn up to 12th grade vocabulary. That's how intelligent they are. Now, the Border Collies are like off the chart for intelligence. And some of the mixed breeds are off the chart smart too. You know, I never had a purebred. I always went and got a mutt. You know, I always thought I'm a mutt, so I'll go get a mutt and love them. But I'm so truly glad that you invited me over, and we got to see a heron, and we got to see these little baby kids here that you're never alone. But the best part of it is you don't mind it. When the kids are gone, you got them, and it's like, oh, come on, let's go sit down and love me. They're so very good. Oh, God.
Each one is a blessing amongst themselves. You just have to work with your animals. The more time that you put into the training of your animal, the better that they will be. The more time and energy that you put into training them, the more rewarding the experience will be in the long run. Do the work, put the work into it, just like with any relationship. The more that you work at it, the better the relationship will be. To just have a puppy and let them, they're not going to learn to go outside on their own unless you teach them to go outside on their own. You have to train them, you have to teach them. Put the work in, put the time in. You have the time now, so this is the perfect opportunity. Or moving forward, like I said, the more time, the more energy, the more effort that you put into it, the greater the reward.
And it does. When you get a puppy, you've got to give your life up for the first 3 months. End of story. It's like a newborn baby. End of story. And you bring them home. If you want them to potty outside, you have to take them out every so often until they find out, and take them to the same spot every time so that they'll smell it, you know. But this little guy is a talker. And if someone would meet him, they would think he was growling, but he's not. When I came down, he wasn't growling at those two other ones. It was like, I'm first.
He has so much excitement that it comes across as like a and it sounds like a growl, but it's actual pure excitement that he was to meet you. He couldn't even contain his excitement when he met you. Yes. Oh my gosh, they're all best friends. You know, they all get along wonderfully, and they're all really, really good siblings to one another. They truly are.
They are. They're underneath their trampoline in the shade. And we had the most beautiful, God gave us the most beautiful day to do a show. I'm telling you, Tail Waggers is blessed. It's really amazing. When I go somewhere and they think, oh, it's going to rain, it quits. And then I do my show, go home. But if this message is for everybody, if you would like Tail Waggers to come to your home and sit down and talk to you about your dog or your cat or bird, how much it means to you. And we just sit, like here with Amy, you just sit and talk, and I love that, because when I first started my shows, that's the way they all were, and then it just became people, I'd ask, oh, no, I'm too fat, I don't know, you know. And really, we can sit on the couch, sit at the dining room table, and just yak. I'm begging you that let the Tail Waggers come over and visit and do a show, and people will love you for it. And I love this little guy here. He's Look, see, he knows I'm talking about him too. Yeah, are you good? No.
Yeah, good boy.
I call our one cat KGB because he sits up at the top of the steps and listens to every word we're saying. So I think it's going to be time to cut her off. And once again, thank you, baby. I always have enjoyed you. You know, her children came up to the school, and I'm not a school guard up at the school because I tramped in a hole and broke my knee up there, but I am a school guard behind. They were kind enough to make a stop for me. So I am still a school guard up there. Um, I miss school. I think the kids do too, but what are you going to do? What are we going to do? I think prayer is about the only thing we can do because people aren't praying. You got to start to pray. So I'm going to end our show with a little prayer, and it starts with, in the name of the Father and the Son and of the Holy Spirit. I love you today, I will love you tomorrow, and I loved you yesterday. You are my Lord, you are my protector and soldier. Holy Spirit, I thank you for everything that you are giving us, and I'm asking you from the bottom of my heart to speak with Father God and tell him to put our planet in his hands and cure it. Because there are still so many good things that can happen. We need this terrible disease to go away for everybody. And when it does, let's remain at home. Let's remain good and kind, helping people, sharing our food. So I thank you, Father God, and in the name of the Lord, I bless all of you out there. So, don't forget the humane societies. They need blankets. They need food, especially. Anything that you think that you can't give to the homeless, please pack it up and send it down to your closest humane society. They'll need it, and the babies are being born now. It's spring, and they will need it. So, like always, I love you, and thanks from all the tail waggers.